Hello, this is Alexa Hampton. Welcome to 52 Weeks of Design Live. And today, there I did it again. That's living room. Today we're going to be talking to the extremely talented Cortney Bishop, who's already there. I just saw her. And please do not misspell her name. I would imagine that's extremely irritating because she has a unique spelling. And she's from Charleston. And hi everybody. And you have to see your website.
Hi.
Okay. Cortney, did you design that website?
Well, I have great partners, but
I mean, of course you had help. Like, I don't expect you to code.
I had a great photographer and I had these ideas and I read your post. It was so nice. And
Oh my gosh, it
I
is. It's so cool. It's
think,
so cool. Are you
wait,
committed to being cool?
yeah.
Or does it just come?
You're so sweet. No, we work with all these materialities. Haven't you ever gone to a job site and taken a sweater and said, we want it to feel
Totally.
like this. So I felt like using
And I love like a little memento mori of objects.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have such a talented team, with putting it together and then having a great girl who comes up with the project names. It just all made sense. And I really wanted it to just be bold because,
And I also love like the philosophy parts, like work hard, play harder. It's just, you get a real sense
thank you.
of who you are, like what the goal is. Like, this is who we want to be, and we're going to try to be this way.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Really. I appreciate
It's great. It's great. Yeah. Well,
No.
and you've worked well.
Thank you.
So tell me, are you from Charleston?
I grew up going to the barrier islands of Kiowa Island when I
Uh-huh.
was from 3 on. And
Which I've only learned of Kiowa as a grown-up.
oh, really?
Isn't that funny?
Why? Because it's a beautiful island with beautiful homes, and many people are moving there now.
Do you golf?
I don't. I tennis.
Good. I don't do anything.
I need more action.
I bravo.
Me too. No, but I grew up going to that barrier island, and that's where we spent, our favorite home summer vacations. And I grew up in Atlanta, so it was a 5-hour drive. And so when I started to drive myself, this is where I came with my friends. And then I just moved right here after I graduated from Georgia and got my first job. Had to move away. There wasn't that many jobs here.
Yeah.
And then back and convinced my husband this is the place for us. So I picked up and moved from Knoxville, Tennessee, where he's from, and had a design firm there, and just said, we're going to try it. We're going for it.
And how long have you been there now?
17 years now.
Well,
and
I guess it worked.
yeah, it's a big risk because, as Charleston was a very holy city and very traditional at the time. And we came and tried a few new things. And
You must have been just the thing for the audience that is not committed, young, cool, who wants to not feel antiquated.
Yeah.
I mean, I love antiquated, clearly, but it's fun to have that pendulum swing.
Well, I think, and this, and now it's okay to mix all kinds of styles together.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we did from the get-go. But we were really catering to younger, newer families in their first homes, and they had a hodgepodge of things. And that's just kind of, I picked up the pieces and then I just went for it. Again, not formally trained in design school, but having a mother who was an interior designer and having her own design firm, I just kind of didn't have very many rules to play by. And that's just kind of how it turned out. But it's fun.
And what did you study in school?
Business.
Good for you.
Yeah, it helped.
Good for you. I'm going to put you on my phone a friend list.
No, I had those component parts where I really love business. I love strategizing. I love building those kinds of dreams myself, and then seeing how to put one foot in front of the other and try to achieve it. And this kind of combined my love of fashion, my love of music, my love of lifestyle and travel. And, I had the backbone of the business degree to kind of do it.
Yeah. I love business when it's not, not like
Number
with a contract. Yeah. I love as you just said, the strategizing, the figuring out something entrepreneurial, like what can we do? How can we, what next kind of thing.
Yeah.
That I find hugely energizing. And I love reading things like Fast Company and Inc. and blah, blah, blah.
It's invigorating, and there's so much opportunity now. It's like, I feel like the stars aligned for interior designers of this era, right? I mean, we've got so many ways of doing business now that now we can share with viewers all the time, which is fun.
So tell me about after school. What was the trajectory getting to where you are?
Yeah. So, I had that father who said, you've got to be able to support yourself. You've got to have a business degree.
I mean,
yeah, thank goodness for him.
I tell my kids that. I've told them that in the crib. I'm like, you must support yourself. The earlier the better.
I had to get that degree, and then I've always been a kind of an entrepreneurial spirit at heart. I would find ways to make money around the house, or I would sell the lemon, the typical stuff, sell splatter paint socks around the neighborhood. And so I knew I'd always be able to support myself. But when I moved straight to Charleston after college, at Kiowa, they were building these lovely clubs, and there was an opportunity there to really work for a resort community and sell a club lifestyle. And I got
and a unique club lifestyle, because I'm aware of the Bob Stern clubhouses there, and I know exactly what that aesthetic would be. So I don't know if you're allowed to name names, but what club came to you and when? Because that's I would imagine that you're the Soho House of Kiowa.
Well,
kind of.
It's kind of a larger community of Soho House people. Yes, it really is. I mean, they provided a lifestyle, and I was lucky enough, and I was a great salesperson by that time. I was lucky enough to get in on an opportunity, which was selling beach club memberships. I mean, who doesn't really want to have a pool if you own a home at the beach and take kids? And so that opportunity came to me through a friend of the family, and I dove in. And they actually took me to several different resort communities to sell that membership. So I got really good at it, and I loved it.
So this is prior to your designing it.
This is prior to designing now.
Okay.
Clubs, which is full circle, So this was kind of the trajectory to get me to designing. And I was around a lot of really interesting people, and I traveled a lot. And then I said, how am I going to integrate all these things and then do something creative? That's what I really want.
I would love to know a little more though about the sales, like learning to sell, and what you think are critical things for salesmanship, like universal critical things.
Confidence. Total.
Okay. Well, good news. America's got plenty of that. We don't always have what it is to back it up, but we have confidence.
We do. And I think, just believing in it, and I do it every day, right? With what we do, if you're coming from a place of passion, you're going to be able to sell anything that you believe in, right? And so the sales part wasn't challenging for me at all. It still isn't challenging for me. What's challenging for me is trying to work within a confine of a potential, maybe a client who doesn't have as much visual gifting in the terms, how that is.
Of course.
Part because you can believe all you want to, but you can't make other people's really see your idea, right? And
how do you make them see? Do you do those mood boards, or?
We do. We have, again, another kudos to my team, because I didn't learn any of that in school, right? I only learned how to analyze profit and loss spreadsheets and, economics and things.
But you had the eye, obviously.
I had the eye, I think, because of my Greek heritage with my yaya.
Okay, so I was going to ask you that. I'm like, are you Greek? Because the minute I read on the questionnaire all those Greek answers, I was like, Cortney Bishop? Like, what? Okay.
I know. So, I don't quite have the coloring. I got the blonde from my dad, even though it's a little bit highlighted, of course. But my mother is Greek, and her parents came over. They both had island heritage and olive oil and in shipping. And
and where are they from?
They're from the Dokanese Islands, the little island of Passaramos, and then a tiny island right next to it. And of course, they had an arranged marriage, and all that stuff happened. Big fat Greek wedding, of course. And then my mother was born in the States and married an American man, and here I am.
Yeah.
But
my husband's family, he's from Athens, but they were Peloponnesian.
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
How often do you go back?
Actually, we were just
talking about that.
Fine,
We
right?
want to maybe surprise the kids. Maybe not. Sometimes they don't enjoy being surprised.
How old?
But it's been a while. It's been a minute since we've been 14, 14, and 12.
Okay.
And we have to go see our beloved family, especially Yaya Grande, who is 105.
Little Yaya. We call him Little Yaya.
For the old ones?
Complete opposites. So
Yeah,
cool.
she is little, though. She could be little Yaya.
They are.
But yeah, she's 105, and we've really got to go see them because we haven't seen them. We haven't seen them, COVID.
Of course, we don't know really the circumstance over there right now, except for and Athens was thriving again, and all the islands were popping. I mean, this was 2 years, but I did take my 14-year-old and my 11-year-old. My mother wanted to do the pilgrimage, and I mean, it was fantastic. So it's time for us to go.
Yeah, I've definitely got the message reading your questionnaire. I was like, she really likes Grace. Great Grace.
Clubs. Very much.
Totally. That's interesting. Do you think beach clubs are like the beating heart of your business?
No,
But you'd like them to be.
I love to, I do like designing them. We were, a part of just full circle with being a part of one of the first ones to be built on Kiowa. And now full circle, we're designing one for them. It really is kind of weird and mystical how all this happens.
Mm-hmm.
When you really put yourself out there, some pretty cool things happen, right? And so we're in the middle of designing what I think is going to be an incredibly cool, chic kind of, I don't know, African inspired beach club. And I'm excited about it.
You must be. I mean, that sounds like a great project. So when you said, okay, I got the sales, I know how to sell it, I know how to work it business wise.
Yeah.
How did you assemble your business?
It's a great question. It was scrapping for several years. I had a great partner in the beginning when I didn't have my degree and I didn't really have the experience, but I knew how to sell. I had a wonderful partner who you have met with me at Market. Yelena, she's from Moscow.
I didn't even remember that I'd met you at Market. I'm like so COVID / middle-aged that
well, you were, you've been designing, of course, this lovely, incredible brand with Hickory Chair. But Yelena came.
When I'm at Market, I'm in output mode.
You're in output mode. Gotcha.
Yeah, I'm like, it's all going outward.
Selling. But it's, it's a fun experience. But I went as kind of the quiet partner of my design partner, 50-50 at the time. Mm-hmm. And we ended up taking Hickory Chair over to Moscow and Russia. And she was quite fabulous and had wonderful taste.
How the hell did you do that?
Well, she is probably a grander salesperson than I. I mean, she's magic, but
she's Russian?
Yes, she's from Moscow, and she, the market was ready. This is, after the Iron Curtain fell.
Wait, you said her name is Elena what?
Elena, Barlowinski.
Yeah, I know who you mean.
She's brought most of probably the area retail stores to you to buy at Hickory Chair, but she was my partner, and she stayed in Tennessee, and I moved to Charleston, and I said, this is just a lifestyle decision for me. So I learned a lot from her. She had, 15 years in the business with me at the time, before and after. And so I just kind of rode on her coattails with the experience I had.
That's so sweet of you to say that.
And it's true. And then I decided, I'm going for it. So
how'd you do it?
I laugh because I only hire people that I meet. I typically have to meet them in person, have a phone conversation, and say, Bob, I'd love for you to come in. And
oh, you mean you're not even thinking of them? You just fall for them.
Like things come to you when you're really requesting or praying about it. And so I had some really cool people in my life at the time. I said, do you want to try? Do you want to support me in this? And we're going to go for it. And, I think I rented a 700 square foot studio apartment down on kind of the old traditional side of Charleston. And we opened up our little store. It wasn't a store, but it was a working design center. And you do it for your friends' houses, and it picks up, and you get a few commercial projects, and then you're out there in the community.
Was or is your husband employed? Does he have a job?
Yes.
That was a horrible phrasage. That sounded weird. Like,
oh, no, He is so great. He's actually a professional fly fisherman, so
Oh, cool.
he is doing his passion a lot, which is
Yeah.
so great. But he also runs my whole service and warehousing receiving department, so we get to work together, and we
Because
love it.
the reason I ask is the way you just described it, like, oh, when it's, like you don't know if you needed to, or
Um,
if you had at that moment in time, if you had the
Totally.
grace to be able to slowly develop it.
That is a really great question. When I started my business in Knoxville, Tennessee, I could not start my interior design business or my dream until I married my husband, and then
Mm-hmm. And then the two of you could cover each other.
they were just super supportive of us as a new couple starting in a new town, and who can we introduce you to, who can I help you meet that could potentially push your career along. And I was able to work for a few of their friends and get quite a reputation in that town of Tennessee, which gave
Do you see this crazy comment that just popped up?
no.
Holy smokes, my first husband was a professional fly fisherman.
I met him and moved to Bozeman, Montana. So I needed a job when I got back. I had to work. I needed to understand what my career path was going to be. I've always had that kind of in me. And so that gave me a little bit of a push, like, Cortney, you can do this. We'll support you. Mm-hmm. And I started working, at the time he was in real estate. So he was really carrying the load, but
and those are compatible.
Yes. And I needed to be independent. And so I just kind of put one foot in front of the other. Yes. Did they help me get a little bit of credit? Yes, absolutely. I was able to borrow a little bit of money to get my first building. And my father.
It's also nice that you moved and you arrived in Charleston as a designer.
Yes.
Like you got to, it's not a reinvention because that's what you're doing, but you got to own that identity as you went to this new place.
Absolutely. Yeah, I did. And to branch off as my own firm was really important to me at that time. We're just going to go for it and believe that it'll work. And I say, sometimes you just got to take it till you make it.
Yeah, totally.
Front of the other, and then good things happen. And
it's great when you are in a couple where both parts of the couple work, because you can do that do-si-do thing where if one person needs more support, then blah, blah, blah. But obviously it's also great when somebody can stay at home, but whichever way that cookie crumbles, it's good.
It is. And when you have we're both very passionate about life. So I think we have that conversation at home every night. What are we going to do? How are we going to do it? How are we going to get there? Yeah. And that's part of the fun.
Yeah, I think my husband and I have so much fun doing it. Precisely that. Just dreaming.
Yeah.
Dreaming what next.
What do we want to do next? So, putting it out there is important.
So how big is your team?
I have 9 now. I'm looking, a lot of them took today off because we're exhausted.
Is somebody calling you? Because I'm not hearing you.
Okay. Sorry.
Most of again.
Team took off today and tomorrow for Memorial. Okay, so we have about 9 people in the team right now. Bill, one good one at a time. We'll take her. Yeah, she's doing all work, every job, right? From the business side to going to get coffee to social media. Yeah. They're all doing everything. And then,
that is how my office works. We all do everything.
You have to.
You don't have to. A lot of people in New York. A lot of people I've heard, one I can think of for sure, but a lot of people I've heard do the whole, the designer and then the coordinator or whatever that.
You mean like manager and the assistant kind of?
Project manager, but like doing the paperwork and the grunt work, in my opinion. Yeah. But I think what you do and what I do is nice because very few people are like, hey, can I get hired to do the grunt work? People want to learn the whole profession. And when somebody's sick or you can all help each other.
Absolutely. This is a band of really strong women that all support each other. And even before I ask, and they all get along. There's no hierarchy. Even with my oldest, who's been here 10 years, and the newest one that walks in the door, she treats her as if, as if she's been here forever. There's absolutely ego involved, which is important to me. Sorry, no egos allowed. Check them at the door. And everybody works together. And when one's out of town, the other one says, what can I do to support her today? Because I'm going to my time. Everybody needs their time off. This job is hard. It's stressful. It's exhausting.
Did anybody quit during COVID?
No, and they didn't. We had 3 weeks at home, and that was probably the most exhausted I've ever been on all those calls all day long.
You only had 3 weeks at home?
We did. We just all kind of kept it tight. We kept it tight, wiped everything down every day. We had to be together, you know? So that was really important to me, to be able to be with the team. Even if it was a smaller team, if anybody went down, of course, everybody was home. But nobody went down until February of this year. So unfortunately, we went down.
And everybody's okay.
Everybody's great.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Dad, it's obvious that you're back to that cool thing. Your happy energy, your personality, it makes perfect sense what you're describing.
Oh, thank you.
That it would work.
A lot.
So give me a little hint, not hint. Give me an overview of your process. How do you like to work? What's the greatest way for you to work?
Yeah, ground up, from a year out of potentially groundbreaking, but we'll take 3 months if that's the case. I mean, that's just the full vision, right? And
so do you do architecture?
I don't because I can't say I have any background. I lean heavily on a fabulous architect.
As do I.
And I have so many great ones that I work with that I'm just so impressed by. And they're lovely. They want the house to turn inside out the same way that it started. They want everything to the T, and I'm there to hopefully make that happen for them. So the furnishings are to scale, and they're vibrating the same vibe that's on the exterior, and the same arches and the same angles, and just, it's fun. It's so much fun. And to be able to do that whole process with the client and to bring them, the best part of our job is to reveal a beautiful home to a family appreciative, right? And so
that and the first creation of the schemes.
You're right. When
the beginning of it and then the realization.
True. It's when you get to do something different and they're going for it. They're excited about it.
But I was at a job site last week and we were just, picking a very pretty simple sheer, and I got goosebumps. And I was like, wow, I still get goosebumps.
You like my sheer? You're excited about it too.
Yeah.
I know.
It's the only thing that gives me goosebumps is decorating and music.
And music, totally.
And music, like if you hear a great Stevie Wonder song and like suddenly you get goosebumps.
Oh, 100%. I'm a huge live music person. I mean, I would go on
tour. I got that from the questionnaire. You said you guys go out a lot, but it was also part of the rock and roll vibe that you give.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be a Band-Aid. I worked in the record business for a while, and of course was on tour for seeing a bunch of bands in college, and I could never really give that up because it was so much fun. I don't much because I can't handle the hangovers, but other than that, so much fun. And music is a huge part of our daily life. We listen to music all day in the studio, and my husband plays instruments. And
does it help your design? It must.
Absolutely. I mean, if we're not listening to music, it feels just kind of like we're missing something. It's a vibe.
Yeah, it's a vibe. You should get it if you get a tattoo. That's the tattoo you need to get. It's a vibe.
Never did it, but I
have no tattoos, but I was thinking if don't you constantly think about what would you get if you had to?
Absolutely. It was going to be Greek. My kid's name's in Greek, or something Angelina Jolie did with her coordinates.
Yeah.
But
I thought I would get one that said tattoo. Like, I think that'd be funny. Somebody wants to know what you listen to. I know because I've read the questionnaire. People.
Yeah. Rock and roll all day long, and I'm so nostalgic right now. Like I'm even going back to the 70s love songs that my mom used to play when we were growing.
Like Hey Jude or something, or like
more like Steely Dan.
Yeah.
ZZ Top. I mean, I'm just
those sweet love songs by ZZ Top.
I mean, no, not the sweet love songs, but those 70s kind of vibes, like all back in the day when I was running around neighborhoods, riding bikes, and I've always been a rock and roll fan. So of course Led Zeppelin and the Rolling Stones, of course the Beatles, Grateful Dead, Stevie Nicks.
Yeah,
you can't. That's just the best.
I have to say, I am more R&B.
Are you
I'm
always
like, you know, and
like Marvin Gaye?
from that era, I was disco.
Love all
I
that.
was an official member of the Bee Gees fan club as an 8-year-old. Yeah.
Documentary, by the way, it just came out.
What?
The Bee Gees documentary just
Oh
came
my God.
out.
My husband and I were wrapped. Barry's a genius.
Who knew? I mean, I knew, but
Who
of course,
knew? Oh yeah, Def Leppard. Love Def Leppard. Do you love Def Leppard?
I like Def Leppard a lot. That's more 80s.
That's definitely 80s.
More 80s.
And then Steve Clark, the guitarist who lost his arm. I mean, he was the drummer. I beg your pardon.
He was the drummer. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
But
yeah. So you go from the ground up,
yeah.
and then what? Furniture plan first?
Yeah, always the furniture plan first, right? Because I do the furniture plan before I even start any materials, even if it's
Me too. You got to have the roadmap for like, how does it look?
totally. And where's the lighting going to go? You know, and so we have to do the furniture plan if we're even going to start on the lighting plan, which we love to participate in the lighting plan and most of the architects absolutely agree, you know, because we know kind of where we're going to focus on the art and
Totally.
the layered lighting. And so they're on board for us to assist. And we do a lighting plan on top of theirs or just kind of
Sure, of course.
move less is sometimes more in our situations. And so then we move on to all the materialities. You know, of course, we go to the tile and the plumbing, and we try to map out a really nice budget. As the business major, I'm big on the budget. I want both the husband and wife to walk out of here and say, okay, my money's in good hands, because you know what they're spending. You know, it's
Of course.
you're
Of course.
nearest and dearest to them, and they've got to be able to trust that. So the numbers have to be documented from the beginning. And yes, if we go over a budget, I'm the first.
But
one.
they assent. They say, I know. They see your budget and they say, okay, I see that this is more.
Yeah.
I'm either saying yes or I'm saying no.
Exactly. It just, you know, the days of being able to just, you can't just do it anymore. You've got to be in control of a budget for them to be reading with you. I just, you know, all the stories of oh, my designer, she just did, you know, the budget was so way off budget and overspent, and it made a huge impression on me. I think that just was the first
Right.
thing.
And it's an insult.
Yeah. I mean,
It kind of classifies us as like flibberty-gibbet, not responsible people, which is,
exactly.
you know, bummer.
Yeah.
You know what I will say though about budgets, and we try to do the same thing. We come up with I mean, it's got a big difference between minimum and maximum. To allow the client. Actually, I sent one of those to a client recently, and he was annoyed, and
Really?
he said, "Well, he was like, you know, this isn't real." I'm like, "Well, they're numbers that came out of our computer, so they're real in that regard. You know, we know what's the least expensive we can get for what we feel that you want, and obviously, the maximum is the maximum." But I was like, "It's a living document. You and I."
Could
Pick
work.
each item, and that way keep our arms around the budget.
Absolutely. That's exactly what we say.
Yeah.
It's a working document
But yeah. But the worst thing about, and I say this for anyone listening to this, the worst thing about a budget is that it is very easy, like always easy, to forget shipping, taxes, and moving costs.
Oh.
So I think the problem with budgets, do you have those in when you present?
We do. That's the newest thing that we did about 3 years ago. And I always, I mean, yeah, now.
I'm going to be incorporating that. I mean,
Even
because
if you market 20%, just to specifically now with COVID, just 20, because it's true. All the choreography that we do to get it from one place to the end place, it takes a lot of, it's like magic.
Yeah. And you can focus so heavily on the budget of the things.
Yes.
And the fine print that even brilliant business people forget. There's delivery.
Yeah.
And that delivery is not inconsequential.
Absolutely. The installation is another, chunk of cash that we just got to at least have a line item for. so they know it's coming.
So somebody just said here, what do you do when the quote budget is big, but they don't set a limit? Get a bottle of champagne and dance would be my answer. No. What's your take?
On the limit of the budget?
If you don't,
If we don't have
they don't set a limit.
I still give them one. And I don't even really think, I just give them a realistic budget for the house that we're designing. And if they like our work, then if they want to hire us, then they've got to understand the quality we're delivering. Right.
Yeah.
So
but if Chic by Design LA, if your client wants antiques or chairs stamped Jacob or whatever, then yeah, you can spin out of control. And yeah, it might not be true. They might say they don't have a budget, but as Arabella Pillowmaker is saying, people have limits.
Absolutely. And you can never control the art, right? It's the art.
Never.
I kind of get a handle on the rugs. I would love to go to Orly Shabalahaga and buy 5 rugs, but I know in the budget I might only get 1, and I might not even get that one. So, but the art can get out of control. So that's an upfront conversation. Hey guys, I'm going to give you a reasonable art budget for the 3 or 4 pieces that I see on the wall. But if you want to go shopping and you want to find a piece of art that's beyond this budget, then please,
feel free.
Not incorporate an exorbitant amount of money for, even though I'd love to, find those pieces. But
so Betsy just said, you sound grown up. You said ground up. Then I heard furniture first, light placement, then tiling. No, you said materials first. So tiles and but yes, not furniture first, furniture plan.
Furniture
Betsy.
first.
So we've got you have a sense of traffic patterns and how one room leads into the other, which will then affect the colorations as they
times you get to know the client, right? I mean, as a creative, things are bubbling the minute you meet the client, but things continue to evolve and marinate, and then you're like, okay, we're moving into a warmer direction. Maybe we're going to use rattan, maybe we're not, maybe we're going to go more modern. It all starts happening at the more times you meet with the client, the more conversations you have. So you just have time to let that really marinate.
Yeah, and sometimes there is a gap between what people think they want.
Absolutely.
And then what through the process they realize, okay, not in precisely what I want. I want this.
Right.
And you have to give them the room to do that.
You do. And being in the studio with you, as I'm sure is a wonderful experience. They get to see more of the projects that we're working on, and they see specifically things that they've never seen before, because you're a resource that reaches pretty much around the world, around the globe, of things that we've been able to access. And then they're like, oh my gosh, that's so beautiful. Like, where do you get something like that? That is an exciting thing for the clients to experience, right?
Totally.
I mean, I want to go shopping with you potentially in New York or wherever it goes. And that whole experience brings them to a level that they're really excited about. So it is different.
Do all of your clients shop with you?
No.
For the majority?
No.
Neither. Okay, good. I don't know if I always love shopping with clients. Not because I don't love being with them, but sometimes you just need
to kick it off right?
your blinders on and look for the best thing.
Totally. And one shopping experience with your clients kind of gives them the confidence that we are going in the right direction. So I recommend it.
Okay.
Designer for the first, if you can go to a design center with your clients, don't you? That's an incredible bond over.
I don't. Neither does Trudy. Trudy and I don't. But it is, I'm older. I don't think, yeah.
Well,
and besides, you have to do such extensive shopping.
It is.
Do you do precedent images?
Yes.
Or Pinterest boards or whatever?
Yeah, we have these 10-foot boards in our studio, many of them, and we start tacking fabrics and pictures from the very first meeting. After the first meeting, once we get the contract signed and we're all in agreement, we just start evolving that board. And they, when they make an appointment, they come in and we reveal what we've put on the board. It's better. We of course have to do a lot digitally now, as I'm sure you do. And we just take that board and we put it into presentation form.
Have you ever had a client come in and be like, that is so completely not? Well, I mean, they can't, right? They can't. I mean, they're looking through all of your images on your website.
You would think that, but there are sometimes that visual default that sometimes it's just not translating when you put all the pieces together. It's more of a focus on one piece versus like, I don't like that piece. But if you see it and if you're curating it
Context.
with other goods, it becomes a whole different ballgame. And sometimes I have to, and if they don't understand that in the beginning, it can be quite the language barrier throughout the design process.
And perhaps a deal breaker.
It could be.
I mean, though, it shouldn't be, because they really should know who you are.
The trust should be there based on the performance of the history of the work, right? But
exactly.
If the color's not vibrant enough, I think a little bit more toned down in color sometimes, and because all the colors make up the color, right?
Mm-hmm.
But some people want that really bright,
clear.
Yes.
I enjoy the sludge in your palette.
Oh,
like there's something very sophisticated about that. I find. I love fresh, clear colors and use plenty of them. I mean, I got like a purple chair here and a coral, whatever. But I do think a little bit of dirt in a color, for some reason, makes it very sophisticated.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit earthier in my color choices. And not to say that I won't evolve into something different tomorrow, but right now.
Yeah. You're making no promises.
Yeah.
Moss Modish, her name does not have a U in it.
Oh, no, I don't.
Don't let that happen again. That must be like the scourge of your life.
It's really not. I blame my mom. I'm like, why did you?
I blame her too.
But it makes unique, right? I mean,
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, the only term I can think to describe it includes a Greek curse word, so I don't think that's appropriate. I don't have the vocabulary in Greek that I should. Do you speak Greek?
No, it was complicated. I enjoyed listening to when Yaya and Papa were alive. I enjoyed their fights and their arguments around the dining table. Everything was always so intense. And the word they were saying, but you could tell they're just, they're passionate people.
Passionate people.
Which may be, the thread that I'm getting through that, that I do.
As you talk about your life, studying business, then being a Band-Aid, and selling, and then getting into the business with furniture and furniture dealing. And then, I mean, you sound incredibly industrious. You don't sound like somebody who likes to, you want to move. Is that true?
I do. I had the funniest doctor's appointment the other day. I must have had a lot of issues, but I went in for a physical, and the doctor called me when I left, and he's a real Southern man. He's called me and said, "Now, Cortney, my father told me this story, and I just thought I'd pass it along to you. Maybe it'll help you tomorrow." But he said, "Cortney, there are racehorses and there are plow horses. And a plow horse will never be a racehorse, and a racehorse will never be a plow horse. But I think you're a racehorse."
That's so cute.
Well, that's so sweet of you. Is that a compliment? And I said, all I care about is how are we going to win the race? What are we going to do together? No, it was really sweet. And I do think it makes sense.
And that's also sweet that he, after you left the next day, took the time to do that.
I mean, I'll remember that forever. I'm going to write him a letter because it was very thoughtful, but it made sense. I do think that I am always on that next move. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And I love the whole process of it. So I'm not living in, one day of an instant. I'm always thinking forward.
That makes me think of a critical aspect about our jobs that I refer to frequently. Probably I've got 75 million hours now on Instagram Live. So I'm sure that there are 8 million of me saying this comment. But I think our job requires these long projects and then these little projects. Yeah. And then, of course, we are, what's project? It's a marathon made up of sprints.
Right.
So I think it helps us keep going to have those revolutions.
It does.
Even if we might find ourselves, I might find myself as a plow horse occasionally.
Right.
Just enough till I can be pretend to be a racehorse or whatever.
No, those little evolutions of the smaller projects keep you going. You're so right, and just understanding that there's an accomplishment, or that
And gratification,
Yeah.
like visual gratification.
Absolutely. And that's why it's been so hard not to be able to travel, because I can get a year's worth of, as I know you can go for a year,
Inspiration.
a trip to Greece or a good trip to Morocco or even New York City in the spring. Like, you're there, but now it's.
Can I tell you a devastating secret?
What happened?
I've never been to Charleston.
Stop that. How is that possible?
I am so ashamed. I can't even believe I just
it's a
said
2
it.
hour and a half flight, and
it's such an important city to have seen. Yeah, I'm the worst.
oh no, you're not the worst. You're busy doing a million cool things.
No. I'll come and knock on your door.
I'd love that.
I'll
take you to a good restaurant.
So I would like you to take me to several good restaurants. Somebody asked you, I see that some designers are now selling furniture or lighting on their sites, which is true. I do.
Yeah.
Sorta. Like you click on, no, I do.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
I actually think it's pretty fantastic, and not in the sense of, that we're all getting our own like kind of commerce out of it. But what I think it's doing is giving a perspective. I mean, you're designing beautiful lighting and designing beautiful furniture. So why shouldn't your perspective be, and even pieces that you're curating? I think something that we're going to try to do, we're in the works of doing, is, when we get to go on these wonderful buying trips, I can't stop myself. I love to shop. I love finding cool, unique vintage pieces. So I think the opportunity for us to be able to showcase the pieces that we're drawn to at a certain time and sell them on, a view shop, I think that's amazing for everybody.
But do you, so here's my problem with that. Besides the fact that I fear going overboard with shopping.
All the time.
Spending too much money.
Yeah.
And then being left holding the bag. I also feel very conflicted about owning things that I then sell to a client. I mean, I don't do it at all because I worry that will cast doubt upon me.
Really?
In that, like, and it's very weird, but I think that I wouldn't want anyone to think I was trying to pawn off anything.
I totally hear
you.
So
that's why I feel that way. It's not that I don't think I could buy, obviously I could buy things I love that are special, but I do feel like there might be some suspicion around it.
Absolutely. And I totally hear that. And I worked for a retailer, and that's the downside of a retail business. I saw that kind of mentality in a retail store.
But I would love to hear how you approach it so that you can take the stigma out of it.
I mean, I think where we would go is extremely unique.
For sure.
Pieces that we could only get through, a real find. And I think the boutique that we would create would be a very limited selection of
items. Well, no, if it's a boutique,
right,
that transforms it.
Yeah.
But if it's something you find and you love and you put it in storage, that's the murky version.
Yeah, I think for me, it's about buying when you can, because when you install that project, you want those cool pieces. In the end, we always have a line item at the bottom of the budget that says, art and accessories, but I never have to detail the accessories because I have the line item in the budget. And then we show up with all these surprises, and they're so excited because.
How big is that line item?
It's pretty big. I mean, it's comparable. Let's just, I'd say it's.
I mean, you can be vague and use loose language,
from 20 to 65,000, but the art is again minimal, and the accessories end up taking it. It's like that
for sure.
All those unique vases and candles and boxes,
and there's no way you could guarantee that art for a house could be contained within $60,000. I mean, what about the frames?
You can't do the art. It's more or less an accessories budget, and so. Those pieces of art are actually, the higher end pieces of art are actually line items into the specific budget.
That's a great
art. I find a lot of art at beautiful, at Market at 214 or, at the A&D Center. And those are the pieces that are in that budget.
Yeah.
More of the finds.
Yeah. And that's also age related.
Yeah.
So
true.
Many people for whom I work are older than I am, but not for long.
Collections.
And they have artwork.
Yeah.
So
Big time.
obviously, I don't want to impose. I want them to continue their journey.
Yes, of course.
Smack me.
No, it's true. The collective, I have a few that I get to work with that have that kind of collection, and I'm enamored by it. So I'm just along for the ride, and it's so beautiful. But for me, I have to be able to keep those pieces somewhat reasonable.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. As a sign of respect, if nothing else, like
Until we take them
and to be a real reality.
Yeah.
They're not gonna. Nobody's. I mean, yeah.
and also in New York City, you guys are just there's art is the culture there, right? You're popping from one museum to the other, and that is all around you.
Though the whole thing, that when you live in a city like that, you don't always go to those places. It's just you can.
Yeah.
So, I had, and again, I'm sure I told this on this series before, but I once had an intern who I went into the kitchen and toasted a bagel, and she said, "Oh my God, that smells so good! Did you bring that from home?" And I said, "No, I did not bring that from home." And she said, "Where'd you get it?" I said, "The deli. I had it delivered." And she said, "You can do that?" Which made me immediately turn to her and say, "Where are you from?" Because the great thing about New York is you don't have to want a hard-boiled egg at 3:00 in the morning, but you could get one.
You can get anything, right?
You can get anything. So, I wish I should be, and obviously COVID has made it much worse, but I should be better about my museum going here. I would never go anywhere and not go to a museum.
I know. Any other place.
But here, I get
right?
lazy.
Yeah. Well, it's the Mecca. I mean, I haven't been to New York in 2 years, and I'm coming in August. Thank goodness. I should come in spring. I can't believe I'm not coming this spring, but we're just too busy here.
I mean, spring is gone.
I know it is.
We're head first into summer right now. It's like very, very warm.
It's an exciting year, though. Exciting summer.
So I wanted to ask you something particular coming to New York. Oh, I wanted to ask you about the architecture in Charleston.
Yeah.
And how rigorous are you about learning it? So do you know the ICAA, the Institute of Classical Architecture and Art?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know anything educational other than, the fact that I admire and adore working with wonderful architects in town. And
that belong to it, yeah. Because I know that they frequently have done trips to Charleston. I need to be
in that group.
Yeah, I need to go because they get like incredible access, and you have these academics talking about everything or how the city develops. So when you walk around this embarrassment of riches in Charleston, what's your experience?
I mean, it's so romantic. I'll never lose the feeling of I hit the jackpot. Thank goodness my father loved Charleston so much and brought me here, and I now raise my children here. It's magical. There's still that little sense of old world here, of course. There's still all the new now. There's this huge transition, this renaissance of young entrepreneurial groups of
or
people.
Not renaissance, an emergence.
Yes, an emergence. We took a renaissance. We took a shift about 15 years ago from kind of the old Southern blue blood to a takeover of boards and different groups of people that really came alive. So you're right, it became that, and now it's definitely a different vibe, but it's full of energy, and of course it's all around the history. It's all around the architecture. It's all around the food. It's all what we do.
Southern food. That's my favorite food. I mean, barring Italian. I mean,
of course.
Let's get serious. Do you have a favorite building in Charleston, or buildings, or street?
Oh gosh, I have many, but I just get the privilege of renovating one of the oldest Masonic buildings on King Street, which has
I just read about the Masons this summer.
Oh my gosh, isn't it? It's pretty intriguing, and it's wonderful,
especially as women.
I know.
There's no way we're getting in there.
I know, and when I was researching it and I was trying to bring it back to life, of course, it's still very much in its original state. Aside from the little compartmentalized rooms, it's blown out. It's a brick and mortar right now with old wood beams, but when I did all the research and I saw the city at the time when the Masonic building was thriving and all of the activity that went around that group of people, it was it was just so cool to read. And thank goodness we have the best preservation society. We really do. I mean, they post images and stories on Instagram. You should follow along. But because we're so involved in protecting that history and architecture and all of the stories around it, it was just fun to bring a building like that to life and to so we were able to renovate it.
How hard was it given that, I mean, there must be a lot of codes and a lot of things that you have to.
Yes, there was. Again, partnership with an incredible architect,
Mm-hmm.
partnership with an incredible development firm. So
the onus was really on the architect.
Yeah, I got to do the fun stuff. I asked the questions, can I do this? Can I do this? I was told what I can and can't do. But we got to bring in, you know, all the real true artisans, like the welders. We got to bring in all the masonry people. We got to work with old timber. And we have a college, the College of the Building Arts here. It's the only one in the country where they're actually educating these masters to learn these old traits. And
there's one in the Carolinas.
What is?
I feel certain there's one of those in the Carolinas, unless I'm like conflating
it is South
the
Carolina.
two.
It's Charleston.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's Charleston.
It's the only one in the country. No, I mean, it's just fabulous. And we've partnered with them for many years to kind of ride on their coattails and see what project they're doing next.
And that is sort of very Masonic sounding, right?
It is. It is, yeah.
So an interesting thing that Lisa Martinson is telling us, she said a tour guide told her in Charleston that they have all the historical architecture because they were too poor after the war to tear down and rebuild. And that is interesting because we, of course, have that in Harlem. We have the most beautiful buildings in Harlem, far prettier than, I mean, the East Side has the white whales and all of many, many ugly buildings for precisely that reason. And so now they're this architectural treasure, the same thing. Like that
I'm
being
sure
ignored was a great boon.
It ended up being a blessing, right?
As a holdout until preservationists could kick in and help, you know, not let things like Penn Station get torn down. I enjoy, I mean, besides the fact that I think your work is tremendously cool and really young and obviously somebody's vision, you know, like there's somebody being you. I enjoy thinking of it in a historic context because that friction between old and new must be great, right?
It is. It's inspiring. It's very energetic. You know, again, we just like to bring some sort of bold creativity to the table, you know, and we've been given the opportunity to do so here in these fabulous old buildings.
Does your style, oh God, this went by really quick. You're fun. I mean, I speak to only fun people. I shouldn't say that. It sounds like I'm dissing somebody. How do you live? Because I'm sure that how you design so for me, how I design has nothing to do with how I live. But I definitely feel like that is not the case for you. And it's weird that it's the case for me. I get it. So tell me how you live, because I know it's feeding your worldview.
Yeah, I mean, and there is a connection here too. And again, it's my mother. You know, she was an incredible designer, but she was very particular. She was very holistic.
I mean, we have to be particular. We're not generalists.
We are, yeah. I mean, but in that sense, she was. You know, the green had to match perfectly. You know, the pink color. You know how that was, and you know,
geranimals or geranimals.
Yes, you couldn't touch anything. We couldn't have pets. So I live a very relaxed lifestyle. I really do. Nothing is sacred.
And it's the rock and roll.
Live in it, right? Live. And that is kind of my approach to everything. It has to be livable. But if it's strong, it needs to be strong. You know, if the family's playful, it needs to be playful. It needs to have the spirit of what I think we can bring to the table for the client. And that's kind of how.
And your rooms look like they will be lived in and relished. They don't look. But again, the constant dialogue in a room is between living and composition.
Yeah.
Because I see the composition in your rooms.
Yeah.
So, do you draw?
No.
I
very
guess that would be the answer.
Yeah.
But it is surprising because your approach to design feels very. Not painterly, but it looks drafted.
Thank you. You know, I think the one thing that I know that I've always had is a little instinct. So I have instinctual ideas about things that are appropriate to scale and color and feel. Like, you know, that when you walk into a house and you can't articulate it, but you feel it. I think that's one thing that I've
I
always
can
helped
always
with.
articulate it because I'm just going to talk
I'm
until
not
that
as
word
good at it.
comes to me.
I'm not as good at that articulation as I am about my feelings. And
I'm
those
not sure I'm good at it either. I just want to do it. So we have 5 minutes. Tell me
This is
something
so
that will
fun.
surprise me about you and your design business.
About the design business specifically?
Unless you have something really cool to tell me that would surprise me that's not about the design business.
No, I think, just coming from a family that has the business side and the creative side, and then being kind of in that world where you're pulled one way or the other. My mother extremely creative, my grandmother extremely creative, my father really just fundamentally business strategy. Like, this is the only way. You can't be a creative because you'll never make money.
Business strategy is creative.
It is.
I mean,
I'm the product of it.
perhaps those guys didn't want to embrace that fact,
Yeah.
but it's making something from nothing.
Absolutely. So I feel like that's the secret, is I was able to kind of ignore both of those philosophies that they couldn't be put together.
Compatible, yeah.
And just go in that direction and know that I can actually do the creative. That's the fun part. The business comes naturally. The creative comes, for me, it comes with just moving in the energy of life, right? So that to me was the gift that I was able to bring forth to be able to start this business.
And were your parents just incredibly encouraging and
I
supportive
wouldn't
of
say-
you? Because you don't get confidence unless you have that, do you?
Yeah, you don't. I feel like my father was always saying, come with me to this meeting, come travel here. He
That's
always
nice.
wanted to give me those experiences. But everything I ever did, they thought was crazy as hell. Every decision I ever made.
Really?
Are you crazy? Oh, my father didn't talk to me the whole year I was working for the record company. When I went to Georgia,
Oh, good. So you're not perfect. I like.
No,
I like a
so
little.
not.
I
Oh
like
my
a
gosh.
little.
I was the not the black sheep, but I was the one who was always doing the craziest stuff that everybody thought was gonna fail. But
And look at you now. I just love stories like that. I just love them because I definitely think for young designers, it is scary. And it's just only, I feel that it is perceived as a legitimate business now.
Yeah. Oh,
But
absolutely.
I'm sure there are parents out there who still worry that it's,
it's a risk.
frivolous or or it's just shopping and or it's a finishing school prior to marriage, blah blah blah. So
Yeah.
it's great. It's great hearing that you did it despite. It was a record company, but you do need to kiss some of these frogs, and you have to do it despite what your parents say,
You do.
as
Yeah.
long as you're supporting yourself.
Agreed, 100% agreed. But also, again, just knowing that the business has changed so dramatically, like you said. Yes, maybe there were at times where that was a profession you went into if you like to shop. But now there's just such clear opportunity, and everybody has a home that they want to be comfortable in. So the access that
Now more than ever.
now more than ever, and we're able to give that access to a community, the world that's watching them, and it's fun.
Well, that is such a profound ending that I think we should end there before we are less profound. Thank you, Cortney, so much.
Thank you
Are you
so
going to
much.
market?
I am. One
Are
day.
you coming to the party for
Darn it.
Corey?
I only one day I have this time.
What day?
I'm going up Monday.
Okay, well, I'll be there. Will you come see me at
You
Theater
will?
Alexander?
You'll be in the showroom on Monday?
Oh, yeah, I'm there Wednesday through Tuesday evening. Oh, well, Wednesday night through Tuesday evening, yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll connect after this, and I can hopefully
Please, and I won't forget that I know you in person now.
You didn't know.
It's like when
it
you
was
see
a very
somebody on a
light meeting.
screen versus seeing them in person. It's different.
No,
I can't
know.
tell you how many people I've been like, "Oh, nice to meet you," and they're like, "No, we know each other."
Do not worry about that one bit. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I must again repeat: anyone who's watching this, please go look at her website because it's so well done. And I think it makes you more professional. I think it speaks volumes of who you are, which is it's important for people looking at it to know who the person is. So if you're a designer and you have a website, go look at this one because it's really, really good. Really good. Real good.
Thank you.
All right. Kisses.
Bye.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
see you soon.
Okay.
Bye.
Great. Bye.